Hello everybody and welcome to my 2020 F1 driver sort of predictions. This isn't going to be a quick video, it's not going to be a long video. I just want to go through each person or each team as to who I think is going to be where and why. So I'm not going to prolong the introduction, so I'm just going to go straight into the top team, which obviously at the minute is Mercedes. So I don't think Hamilton's going to be going anywhere next season. I think it's pretty obvious. If you do think he's going somewhere, then I'd love to know where and why. But for me, Hamilton isn't going anywhere. He's recently signed a new deal. I think was it either last year or the year before. He's probably going to win the 2019 championship. He hasn't yet because round 10 Silverstone has only just passed. But at the minute, he's quite a distance in front. Um, so for me, Hamilton's going to be staying. I don't think that's a surprise, but moving on to his teammate, I think Valtteri Bottas is going to be staying. He's done a really good job this season so far. He's been a lot more competitive as what he was last season. He was more of a teammate last season. This year, he's been a bit more of a rival for Lewis Hamilton. He's not like too far away from him in the championship. Obviously, at the beginning, it was a really strong push for that title to get that lead, but at the minute he's Bottas 1.5 at the minute. He's not the 2.0 that we saw at the beginning, but he's not the 1.0 that we saw last year. But for me, it's going to be the same sort of team. Why change something that's not broken? You know, it's working. They're winning the constructors and winning the championships. For me, Mercedes have got to stick with Hamilton and Bottas. Although it is really difficult for Esteban Ocon just to be sitting as a sort of reserve driver at the minute, I think he'll get his chance. Hamilton hasn't got a lot of years left. Bottas, whether he performs or not, we'll see. But I just don't see Ocon taking a Mercedes seat at the minute. So that's who I think is going to be driving for Mercedes. Moving on to Ferrari. It was a bit more of a difficult one, this one, but I think Leclerc is going to be staying. I can't see Leclerc going anywhere else, as well as Vettel. I think Vettel's going to be staying. It's one of them ones of Vettel's not been the greatest this season. Leclerc's been good this season. He hasn't been like amazing. He hasn't won a race so far. Although we obviously should have won a race. He should have won Bahrain, but nothing down to his own fault. And Austria, he sort of should have won, but Verstappen had fresh tyre. I think Verstappen was just too good that day. But for me, Vettel, he's got experience. I think he can help Ferrari just sort of change what's going wrong. But I think if next year it doesn't go better than this year, I can't see Vettel staying any longer, and that's in Formula 1 in general. I don't think he's going to do a Raikkonen and drop down to sort of a Sauber sort of team and Alfa Romeo. I think he'd rather leave just on the up, well, as up as you can, but at the minute he is just sort of damaging his reputation. So hopefully next season he does stay and he does have a good season and he can maybe challenge for the title a bit more. And Leclerc, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He's been too good on his rookie season. He's going to be challenging Vettel even more next season. So I think Ferrari's going to be saying the same as well. And for Red Bull, obviously Max Verstappen I think will be staying. He's not going to go down anywhere. If anywhere, he's going to go up. But I think Honda coming in for Red Bull has been such a sort of revelation, and you can see in Verstappen's face when he talks about him how excited he is about the opportunity of working with Honda. So for me, Verstappen staying. And a bit more of a controversial side, I also think Pierre Gasly is going to be staying. Yes, he's been pretty shocking this season so far, but for me, it's not so much down to his driving, it's more sort of his car. I know you could say Max and Pierre got the same car. Personally, I think the setups are not working for him. I don't know if you remember, but Leclerc, when he started with Alfa Romeo, his first like 3 or 4 races were pretty terrible, or 3 races, pretty terrible. And that was all down to the setup of the car. It was too much oversteer, he couldn't do anything about it. And I think it was by Baku he managed to work it out. And Gasly, I think in the last round Silverstone he turned it round. I don't think you can go from one extreme to another of being lapped in Austria to being like not far from his teammate at all in Silverstone, just by luck or anything. I think it is something to do with the car, and they've changed it. So hopefully in the second half of 2019, they sort of smooth out the edges, and Gasly's pretty much on par, or at least close to Verstappen. And if he does, then I can't see him going anywhere for next season. Also, they don't really have a lot of options anywhere else. Obviously, Kvyat or Albon can come up, but that's the only sort of way anything is going to be switched. They haven't got anyone really amazing in the junior teams or anything, so for me it's going to be Verstappen and Gasly. Moving on to Renault. Daniel Ricciardo, obviously, he sort of wants to build a long-term project there, so he's going to be staying with Renault, in my opinion, obviously. I don't think he'd want to go to Renault and then move somewhere else straight away. It's a bit of a stupid move unless a Ferrari seat comes up or a Mercedes seat. But I think Ricciardo really does want to build a long project there, and he sort of wants it to become his team. He wants to win a world championship with them, and if he can help sort of get them to that stage, then I think he'll sort of prove to everyone that he made the right move and move into sort of the lower team Renault. As for the second driver, this is sort of my out there prediction. It may seem a bit stupid to some people, but it's a prediction. If everyone was going to be the same, then it would be a pointless video. But I think there might be a chance that Jack Aitken from Formula 2, the British driver, might get a chance to get Nico Hulkenberg's seat. Not that Hulkenberg has done anything specifically wrong, but he hasn't really done a lot right either. He's obviously known for never having a podium, never having a win. And obviously in Renault that's sort of understandable, but there have been chances. This season compared to Ricciardo, he's not really been performing that well either. He's lost a lot of the qualifying sort of head-to-heads and the racing head-to-heads. And for someone as sort of experienced as Nico Hulkenberg, you'd expect a bit more from him. You'd expect, he's been with Renault for pretty much 3 years now. So you expect him to be in the groove, hit the ground running, beating Ricciardo, as Ricciardo's obviously just joined the team, but he hasn't been doing that. So I think there's a chance that Jack Aitken could get that seat, and he's been doing really well. So, you know, if Renault are looking at McLaren and seeing what Norris has done, if they see what Russell's doing at Williams and how much he's beating Kubica, then there's no reason why they shouldn't take that risk, because they've got obviously experience now in Daniel Ricciardo. So why not take a risk and get someone like Jack Aitken in? But that is an out there prediction, so don't get too much hate on me if it does seem a bit stupid. But moving on to Haas, who have had a pretty dreadful season so far. I think they've only got a couple of points, and they're not far away from Williams, which is pretty tragic. But I think Magnussen's staying. I think Magnussen's doing the best he can. He's complaining about the car a lot, but I think the team sort of need that to realize how bad the car is actually being at the moment. They've had all this mess with the Rich Energy sponsor and stuff, and it's not been a good season so far for them. But I think Magnussen's good enough for them. I think he's got a good bit of experience under them now. He's enjoying himself at Haas in general. So I think he'll be staying. As for the second driver, I don't think Romain Grosjean's going to be getting the seat again. He's making too many mistakes. He's all over the shop at the minute. He cost the team so much money in damage and repairs, and the mistakes he's making are just rookie mistakes. And for someone who's got, I think, something like, he's either got 3 podiums or 15 podiums, I can't remember, but when he was at his lowest days he had a few podiums. So for someone who's got that experience and been in Formula 1 that long, he shouldn't be making mistakes for spinning when coming out the pit lane and crashing into your teammate. It's rookie mistakes, and I don't think Gunther Steiner is going to be taking it too well. I don't know if you watched the Drive to Survive series, but in that he was already a bit on edge with Romain Grosjean. So I don't think he's getting it. But I do think that Nick De Vries from is it ART? Is it ART in Formula 2? From a Formula 2 team anyway. He's top of the championship at the minute. He's driving really well. And I think they might need that fresh blood just to come in and just sort of reinvent the team again, and maybe give Magnussen a bit of a run for his money as for who the better driver is going to be. So I do think that Nick De Vries will get a seat in F1, and in my opinion it's going to be with Haas. And if it does, then that's a really good move for De Vries. As long as Haas can sort of get their act together and get their ass in the gear. But we'll see. Next one, McLaren. I'm gonna keep this one short. We already know that Norris and Sainz are gonna be there. They just signed a 2-year deal, so Norris and Sainz, really good move from McLaren, really good team. I really hope that they progress next season and get even closer to Red Bull and sort of cement that 4th place sort of place in the grid, I guess. But Norris and Sainz, can't really complain about them. Really good drivers. Anyway, moving on. Toro Rosso, Albon and Kvyat, I think they're both going to get the seat again. Obviously all dependent on Pierre Gasly, how he performs in the second half of the season. But in my opinion, Albon performed so well this season so far. As a rookie, you can't ask for much more. And Kvyat is just wow. What a new man he's become. He's matured so much when he's since he's been dropped, I guess, and he's gone to Ferrari as a test driver, I believe, and he's sort of matured. He's come back and he's put some really good drives in, and he's surprised, I think, almost everybody who's come back into the paddock. But yeah, so Toro Rosso, Albon and Kvyat again. Not Force India, mistake already. Racing Point, I think can't do a lot in their situation with regards to drivers. Lance Stroll's dad is obviously the owner, so I don't think they're going to be kicking his own son out. I think they should, in my opinion. I don't think he's got out with Q1 this season already, and obviously that's carrying on form from last season, which is pretty tragic for a car of that caliber. But I mean, it's a tricky situation. You obviously want someone who's got more experience and who's put in some good drives. Not saying that Stroll is bad by any means, but because he always makes moves in the race, and he's obviously had a podium before. He's at a front row in qualifying, but the amount of times he's been out in Q1 this season and carrying on from last season, I just don't understand how you could go from one extreme to another. So that consistency sort of needs to be there. If it carries on in the second half of the season and maybe he picks up his form and he gets out of Q1 a few times, then fair play to him. But at the minute, he's not really proven himself. But I do think he's going to be there only because of his dad. As regards to Perez, he's put a lot of money into this team. He's sort of been the background man. He's sort of funded them. He's helped them in court cases and everything. So, and he's been pretty consistent this season so far. Maybe not as consistent as last season, but he's definitely been up there, and he is doing well. So for me, Perez will be staying as well. Well, not last but not least, because it's not the last team. The penultimate team is Alfa Romeo. Kimi Räikkönen, I think he's got 1 year left on his deal, so he's done so well coming into this Sauber team. He's performed really well for what the team is. He sort of carried on Leclerc and just upped it a little bit, if you get what I mean. He's consistent points, so in my opinion, Raikkonen's going to be there again. For the second driver, this is where it goes out a little bit more as well. I obviously said that Ricciardo and Jack Aitken are going to be at Renault, but I don't think Hulkenberg is going to be without a seat. I think he's going to move to Alfa Romeo. No reason in particular, other than he does score consistent points, and that's sort of what Alfa Romeo need at the minute. They need that, maybe just to keep building the team. They obviously not going to be a title-winning team next season, so maybe they just want more experience with Raikkonen, who's obviously the most experienced guy on the grid. So with all that knowledge, can only sort of bring good things, I guess. So for me, Hulkenberg is a good choice, and hopefully that's sort of the way it goes, because that'll be interesting as well to see how he does perform at maybe, I guess, a lower team, even though they're sort of on par. But you sort of get what I mean. And last but not least, we have Williams. I really hope they have a better season next season. They've been so disappointing this past couple of years, and it is really sad to see, especially when they show Frank Williams and Claire Williams and how sad they look on the TV. It's I don't know if any of you watched the documentary, but it is really sad to see how they've pretty much gone from the pinnacle of Formula 1 to just being the sort of the joke team at the bottom of the grid every race. We'll see what happens. But for the drivers, George Russell has absolutely smashed Robert Kubica this season in every single aspect. Obviously, Kubica had that really bad accident, but in Formula One, there's sort of no reasoning to keep him. He's not performing as well as George Russell, who's obviously in his rookie year. No sort of qualms for Robert Kubica. He's tried his best. I don't think he doesn't care or anything. I think he really does, but I think his wrist is sort of limiting what he can do, and he's definitely not the same Robert Kubica that once was, which is sad to see. But for me, George Russell would be saying he's had such a good drive, and I think he really does want to build something with Williams and maybe get them back to at least a midfield team, which will only do him good in his future years. He'll sort of learn from him, and I think it'll be really important for him once he gets into his late 20s and he could maybe move to Mercedes and get a title chance. Who knows? Right, for his second driver, for their second driver, I think that Nicholas Latifi from Formula 2 will get a chance. He's sort of getting on in his age, and he's still in Formula 2, but he is a really consistent driver. And he does always either win a podium or just outside. He rarely makes too many mistakes. So I think that's what Williams need at the minute. The only other outside chance is that maybe Ocon gets the Williams seat. I don't know. I don't know where Mercedes and Williams stand on this. But maybe they don't want to leave Ocon out for too long from Formula 1 Mercedes. So maybe they'll bring Ocon in to partner George Russell just so he keeps driving, just so he doesn't lose that sort of knack in Formula 1, which I think would be really good as well. But I don't know. For me, I think they're going to choose Nicholas Latifi so to give him a chance. As I say, he's getting on in age. But I won't be sad if they choose Esteban Ocon either. I think I'd prefer Ocon, but that's my predictions anyway. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've watched 70 minutes of me talk about F1 2020 drivers for next season, I really do appreciate it. And I don't think you realize how much that'll mean just to listen to me for a bit. So even if you've had me on in the background, there's sort of no need to watch the video. There was just, if you're, I don't know, at work or something, then thank you very much. But if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. And if you subscribe, then that would be awesome. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you soon.